Hey, how's it going? In this video, we're going to try out some art supplies I've never used before and make a couple little bunny rabbits. So I like to try out a lot of different mediums and craft supplies. So I've been getting the sketchbox premium box for like the past year. I've gotten it before in the past, but it's been about a year this go around. This month's box came with a set of alcohol markers. I haven't really used alcohol markers much, other than maybe the handful I've gotten in the box, and only just testing out the colors. So I decided to play with them a bit and make something with them instead of just doodling. So I used the comic book paper that came with the box this month, as well as a few other supplies I've gotten in previous boxes. On this small rabbit here, I used the peachy and apricot markers. I also used a caramel colored sketchbook marker, alcohol marker that I got in a previous box. I also used, so I got these real brush pigment pens in also a previous sketch box. I used an almond one for the highlights, and then I think the other one is like a rose red or rose pink. I'm not sure. I have to look at it. But yeah, I used it just on the inside of the ears there. I think it's a cute little guy. I used a black fine liner to outline it. I really wish I hadn't done that. I think it looked pretty cute. And then it kind of messed with the shape of the head. And I didn't love how it turned out, but it's still pretty cute. The fine liner, definitely a mistake. I think the small rabbit sketch was just a little bit too small for the outline that I did. It would have been good without it, or maybe if I'd used an even smaller black pen, it would have gone a little bit better. I did go over some of the lines with the real brush pens, and that helped soften it a bit. It didn't totally fix it, though. I came back in to add a few white highlights with a white gel pen that also came in this month's sketch box. It's like a click top gel pen. Never had one like that, so it's pretty cool. Doesn't this guy look a little bit like an angry potato with ears? His tail could be a little sprout. I'm not sad about that. It's pretty endearing. Maybe I should make a series of food that looks like cute little woodland creatures. Anyway, I think the more I look at him, the more I like him. I think the more I look at him, the cuter he gets. Even though I don't like the heavy black outline, he's still pretty cute. I'm pretty happy with that. With the pink rabbit, I know it's not pink yet, it will be pink. I use the cotton candy and raspberry colored alcohol markers. I really love how the markers layer up. I was kind of envisioning the lines left behind when you use like a regular Crayola marker. I know that's wrong. I've seen really beautiful work done with alcohol markers, but there were no streaks left behind, and I was still able to build up a shadow with just the cotton candy colored marker. And going in with the raspberry color stayed really bright and vibrant. It's a beautiful color. I was able to go back and soften the lines with another pass of the cotton candy colored alcohol marker. And it didn't make any kind of mess or spread out past where I wanted it to. I did use the same white gel pen to highlight the eyes and brighten this little pink bunny's tail a little bit. Sometimes a simple graphic sketch like this is kind of the most satisfying because of how clean it looks when you're done. I'd love to grab a wider range of colors and try some more complex sketches with alcohol markers. I think there's a lot of potential here, and I'm interested to explore further. I really thought that the third rabbit, the jackrabbit, was going to be my favorite one. I think I like the sketch of him best, but this one turned out to be it for me. Of the three, this pink rabbit is the one I like best. But I've been very into pink lately, so maybe I'm a little biased. Which one's your favorite? You haven't seen all three yet, so maybe it's not fair to ask now. At the end of the video, let me know which one's your favorite. Anyway. I also used the real brush pigment pens again. I used the almond one and the rose pink one. It is rose pink. I didn't feel like that was really enough to define the outline, so I used a Copic marker that I got also in a previous box. I did use the black fine liner for the eyes and the nose, but I left it at that. I try to learn from my mistakes. The first rabbit was meh. I think this second pink one turned out pretty cute in the end. I use the key lime color for the grass. Very simple. Something to note with the alcohol markers is that they did pick up my pencil lines. It got a bit smudgy and it kind of like stained the tip of the marker. I've seen videos where people use certain types of like black fine liners and they don't smudge. The one that I use definitely would have smudged. It even smudged with water. I will explain that later. But I know that there are markers that I could use that wouldn't get picked up so easily. So I'll have to look into that. The pink rabbit is by far my favorite of the three. I just think it turned out the cutest. I think the unfortunate bit about using the markers and pens is it's harder to hide a flub up. So when I use the black ink fine liner on the small rabbit and it kind of screwed with the shape of the head, I don't know of a good way to go back and fix that. But when I paint, I can just go in and cover that right up with some other painting. Do you guys have ways to fix little screw ups like that? I suppose if I use the Copic markers, the acrylic markers, I could use them to cover up any kind of mess. I feel like those work very similarly to paint because of how opaque they are. But that's not the same as using the alcohol markers. The acrylic markers cover up like paint. The alcohol markers are transparent. I just don't know how to solve screw-ups. I know there has to be a way. Let me know if you know what it is. This last rabbit, the jackrabbit, I used the key lime and I'm pretty sure I used the apricot color on him. I just wanted to see how the two colors would layer. I actually think they layered really nicely. It didn't get like weird or gross or an ugly brown. It's a nice color. I did use the real brushes in this as well. Just the almond one. I don't remember if I used the pink one. But I think it's too subtle. It didn't really like stand out. And I did finish him with the black fine liner. Apparently I did not learn my lesson. And just like with the tiny rabbit, I don't really love how it looks. He's okay, but I thought it might, make some more adjustments to him. Maybe do something a little bit more dramatic with the line work. Maybe something a little magical, a little messy. Because there was nothing to lose. The problem was I had him sitting by an open window, and we had a surprise torrential downpour. Just buckets of water started coming in the windows. So we ran around and closed all the windows. And unfortunately, he was right under a window. And that black ink smudged quite a bit. So unfortunately, there wasn't anything worth fixing of the line work. But I still have the video as evidence that these sweet little bunnies existed. But yeah, unfortunately, the paper did not survive. How do you guys get around the smudging pencil lines? Do you just not do under sketches? Do you like roll it out with a kneaded eraser? Do you use like an ink liner, or do you just forego the sketch altogether? I've not looked into the alcohol markers very much, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth looking into. If you use alcohol markers, let me know how you use them. Or if you can refer me to somebody that you watch on YouTube who's got a lot of good tips and tricks, I would really appreciate it. I did discover that using alcohol markers and probably even acrylic markers, I haven't used those either. I really, really want to. But I used the markers, and I discovered that they're really satisfying. They're quick. There's no cleanup, unlike with paint. And I thought I wouldn't have a good time, but I did. They're really nice. I'd like to look into maybe a larger array of colors, nothing massive, but something a little bit less pastel. And maybe I'll check out a small set of the acrylic markers as well. I think the two of them together would be a lot of fun. So I think I might look into using those more. I might do a couple of larger projects and really try and get the hang of using the markers properly. I think it could be a good time. Let me know what you think in the comments. Does that sound interesting? Does that sound like something you'd be interested in seeing? And as always, thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here. I hope to see you again. Bye, guys.